This is a Fatal 4 podcast.
To shuffle those feet from side to side, it's time for Squared Circle Strafe, the premier video game podcast of the Fatal 4 podcasting network. I am your host, Pro Wrestling Noah, aka Noah Stewart, and it's time to talk about video games. Hello, folks. It's been a while. It's the holidays now. Sorry for my tardiness lately, my sporadic absence. Have it, as it is. I'm finding out that aside from podcasting, it turns out I do have a full-time job, and my full-time work is video production, and it turns out during the holidays, it gets pretty busy around these parts. So I'm realizing, as this whole doing my own solo podcast thing is kind of, it's new for me, and I've only been doing it for a handful of months now, and I'm realizing that December is as long as I'm in video production as my full-time job, that it's going to be pretty busy around here. So I am thinking now that December especially might be kind of a hiatus month for me, kind of taking a little bit of a break. I mean, I will be busy, but the podcast might be taking a little bit of a break. I wanted to get in here and do one because I wanted to, provide some stuff for you, the listener, but maybe I might be a little quiet this month, but I will be back in the new year with some cool stuff. And then there's also the Game Awards is happening this week, this Thursday that this episode releases, and that I'm sure there will be a lot of exciting stuff coming out of that, what with trailers and whatnot. So I might release a little episode or something, because I have a feeling I'll want to talk about some of the stuff coming out of that show. But maybe don't expect so much stuff from me this month, but I will be doing a end of the year kind of award show thing that I'm still kind of putting together. So be on the lookout for that. I definitely want to get that released somewhere around Christmas. TBD. I want to be sure to provide some content for people to enjoy over the holidays. That's kind of the updates around the show. Again, thank you for your patience. And I hope you enjoy what I am able to provide now. And speaking of, why don't we get into some of this here news that we've kind of has been happening over the past couple weeks? Starting off with this is a weird one. So this news provided to us from Video Games Chronicle. Players are accusing Tencent's latest game of copying Sony's Horizon series. Now, this is a game called Light of Motaram, and it looks a lot like Horizon. Like, if you look at the key art for both of these games, it is nearly identical. It's got a character with red hair and like tribal looking outfit with feathers and a bow and arrow. And there's mechanical monsters that look very similar to the ones in Horizon Zero Dawn, very lush green environments with mountains and stuff. It is crazy how similar it looks to Horizon Zero Dawn, which people have pointed out on Reddit. It seems like most people out in the wild are like, this is just Horizon Zero Dawn. What's going on? And it is. So this game, Light of Motaram, it is developed by Polaris Quest, which is a subsidiary of Tencent, big Chinese game publisher. And the thing about this, so it describes itself as an open world adventure set in a land where human civilization has ceased to exist. Again, very similar to Horizon Zero Dawn. or Forbidden West, both the Horizon series at large. It is inhabited by mechanical animals known as mechanimals, including large gorilla, deer, and bull. And so the thing that it seems like sets this game apart from Horizon is the fact that it is a co-op multiplayer crafting game, which, if you remember, is also kind of the thing that sets Pal World apart from Pokemon, which to me feels like some developers are really starting to set a precedent of, oh, hey, you can just like go and copy a whole other like company's deal as long as you just turn it into a crafting game. That seems to be like the easy kind of development cheat code, at least marketing wise, to like, oh, let's just take something really successful and then just staple on a bunch of crafting mechanics. And that's not to say that that's like an easy thing to do, like, oh, just hit the crafting button. But it seems like it's an easy template to go to. You know, the like crafting systems are sophisticated. You have to set all that stuff up, and you know, it's much more complicated than I'm making it seem. But it seems like it's also an easy way to attract players. Like, oh, hey, like, you've played Minecraft, right? Well, this is like that, but it looks like Horizon. There's like all these crazy mechanical animals running around and stuff. I don't know. It's just, I see the similarities between this and Pal World, and it makes me feel a little icky. But yeah, Light of Mataram does not have a release date yet, but you can wishlist it on Steam. And it is also, there was another article kind of following up on this, saying that it will also be coming to PlayStation 5 and iOS, which the iOS thing makes sense. You would definitely, especially Tencent, I could see them definitely wanting to attract players on mobile for a big crafting game. I don't know if you like Horizon, but also want it in a crafting context, here you go. But also, I don't blame you if you are a big Horizon fan and you're like, hey, hashtag not my Horizon. What's the deal with this thing? Speaking of things on the PlayStation 5, and also a kind of, you know, strikingly similar game to another game, Square Enix's Foam Stars, their next season will be its last season. It seems like Foam Stars is kind of sunsetting new content coming to the game. Foam Stars, for those of you who don't remember, which I don't blame you if you don't, because it's a game that came out earlier this year, came out in February, I believe. And it is essentially a Square Enix's version of Splatoon, where you are a bunch of very colorful characters running around an arena, but where in Splatoon, you're a bunch of squid kids spraying paint everywhere, and you're trying to, you know, like shoot players and eliminate them, but also the kind of main goal of the game being to cover the terrain of the arena with the most paint, and whoever gets the most paint over everything wins the round. This is a similar thing, but instead of paint, you're using like sudsy soap foam. You're trying to cover the arena in as much foam as you can. And you can also like slip and slide around the foam, a la, you know, the squid kids kind of dipping in and out in squid form of the paint in that game. I wouldn't blame you for not knowing about the game, because I don't think a lot of people really did, aside from people who like follow the industry, you know, closely. Because I don't really feel like it was marketed that well. And again, this is coming up again and again and again this year, it seems like. But games of service, very crowded lately. So not everything is going to take off. But they have Square Enix has confirmed that the Party Goes On season of the game, which starts on December 13th, will be its final new season of content. Thankfully, they have said that the game will remain online. It will remain online, and they're also going to hold a Foam Stars Cup series of in-game events for each of the characters in the game. So there is still plenty of stuff to do, it seems, for people who enjoy playing this game. And so this next season of content will be its last, but they are also kind of reactivating previous season passes, so you can kind of buy whichever ones you want piecemeal and, you know, get all of the juice out of all of those passes as you want, as it remains online. So there's still plenty to do in the game. It will remain online. People will still be able to play it and enjoy it. It's just, you know, not going to get new stuff after this. This coming weekend is when that DLC launches. So sorry, Foam Stars, but hey, at least the fans will still be able to enjoy you for the time being. Something that fans will unfortunately not be able to enjoy for much longer is Ubisoft has decided to close its shooter XDefiant. The game that is most similarly kind of to a Call of Duty-like situation. XDefiant was Ubisoft's free-to-play game that saw a lot of their Tom Clancy licenses in a big crossover kind of team deathmatch, control the point, you know, various match types, shooter kind of game, which has been around for a while this year. But apparently, again, they themselves cite it. Here, let me just read this statement from them saying that it has been a difficult decision to discontinue development for XDefiant. Despite an encouraging start, the team's passionate work, and a committed fan base, we've not been able to attract and retain enough players in the long run to compete at the level we aim for in the very demanding free-to-play FPS market. As a result, the game is too far away from reaching the results required to enable further significant investment, and we are announcing that we will be sunsetting it. This unfortunately results in also the shutting down of Ubisoft's San Francisco and Osaka, Japan offices, which will result in over 200 people losing their jobs. Maybe some of those people getting shuffled around internally within, you know, Ubisoft's overall structure. But yeah, not a great year for Ubisoft. It's seeming like, you know, what with like, you know, we've talked a lot about Ubisoft this year, I feel like, on this podcast. What with disappointing launches for Star Wars Outlaws and the delay of Assassin's Creed, Shadows into the next year, various things about Tencent taking a, you know, leading claim in their stocks, or their you know, the ownership of the company, possibly taking it private. There's just been a lot of shit that Ubisoft has been dealing with lately, and this is just another one of those things. Another free to play service game, calling it quits. And I actually did download and play like a decent amount, like maybe, you know, 3 or 4 play sessions of XDefiant, and I had a fine time. It was a fine shooter. It definitely, and this was before this most recent Call of Duty came out, obviously, which people seem to be very much enjoying. I've heard a lot of people say this is one of the best Call of Duties in a while. Black Ops 6, that is. But XDefiant, like, at the time before that, was like a pretty good, you know, alternative to, like, hey, if you aren't really into what Call of Duty is providing right now with Modern Warfare 3, then here's the, you know, fun little extra thing. And it was also kind of a hero shooter because you had all the different factions from the Tom Clancy verse, and each of those factions had, you know, different roles that characters could play with different abilities. It was neat. Had the, you know, like, capture point match types that I think I frequented the most. It was a fine little game, but not going to be around much longer. They have ceased development, and I believe it will be online for a little bit longer, but not that much longer. Let's see. Yes, it is. Season 3 will still launch, and the servers for the game will remain active until June 3rd, 2025. So you have about until next summer to get in on some XDefiant. But I believe the downloads will... oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, from today, new downloads, player registrations, and purchases will no longer be available in XDefiant. So if you still have XDefiant, you will still be able to enjoy it for a little bit longer, but it's not long for this world. Speaking of like troubling Ubisoft stuff, there was also a story that came out from a interview with Michel Ancel, former director of Beyond Good and Evil 2, talking about the kind of troubled development of that game, which is still in development, mind you. But he says that it was hindered by problems between managers, and that like he didn't really know who was in charge at certain points, and mind you, Beyond Good and Evil 2 was announced in like 2008, which, a very legendary at this point E3 trailer that they then re-revealed in 2017 with a much different looking trailer with like a entirely different cast of characters and world and everything. But I think still is like in the same world as the first Beyond Good and Evil, because they released that 20th anniversary edition of the first Beyond Good and Evil earlier this year, and that they added an extra mission to that game that was supposedly supposed to have a link narrative wise to Beyond Good and Evil 2. But yeah, Michel Ancel here is saying when he was a director, that like art directors wanted to redo everything over and over again, and the director of the game wanted to make a generated dungeon game, and he was dreaming, Michel was dreaming of making a space adventure, and it didn't really seem like any of the like project leaders could really agree on what direction to take things. So and to the point where apparently Yi Guillermo, the guy who runs Ubisoft, had to come down to Montpellier and get things back on track, but it wasn't enough, and the game director continued his stubbornness. So some troubling, stuff happening in development there. Also, like, does anyone remember when they did that re-reveal in 2017 and Joseph Gordon-Levitt was there talking about how they were like doing a thing where people could make content for the game, and then people would vote on like what content from that like kind of like content jam would make it into the game, and then everyone kind of retaliated and was like, hey, like you're basically asking people for free labor, that sucks. And they had to like backtrack on a lot of that stuff. That was a weird thing. But yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 2 still technically in development. It's still being worked on. It really, at this point, has that kind of Duke Nukem Forever stink on it for me. That's just kind of a game that I don't really believe exists until it actually comes out. And it will feel like a small miracle that it comes out, but who knows what state it will be in by the time it comes out. So I don't know. It's weird. Speaking of things that are weird and kind of like a shit show. And this is as of today, as of like the recording of this episode, the entire Itch.io site was reportedly taken down by Funko. For those of you who don't know, Itch.io is a website that's itch.io. Is a website for indie game developers to post indie games for people to buy. Essentially, it's a Steam kind of website, a video game hosting website, but for indie developers, where the kind of like ways to get onto the page is a little less strict and a lot more like the funds are more in favor of the creators than they are the hosting service. And it's also not just video games, it's also RPGs and music and zines and stuff like that. Very, very cool kind of creator focused platform. But apparently, according to a post from the Itch.io official X account, Twitter, rather, whatever you want to call it, that the whole site was taken down by what it is calling a bogus phishing report. That apparently, and this is all, according to them, that Funko was using a brand protection software, which it claimed was AI, to flag a disputed page and filed a bogus report with Itch.io's domain register. So this is, I feel like YouTube has been going through this a lot lately too, with like bogus DMCAs or copyright claims and stuff like that, where it's just like a dumb layer of automation just fucking everything up. And in this case, it wasn't even like, this is Itch.io's own platform. It wasn't even like, this is just like a separate service, like security-ish, service from Funko that is designed to just like flag stuff on the internet, and then got their domain deactivated. And if you look up Itch.io right now, like as of I'm recording this episode, it seems fine at the moment. It seems like they got it back up. They were able to kind of like distribute it to a different domain, so that people are able to go in and use the Itch.io URL to still get to the website. Thankfully, it didn't like completely dismantle and destroy their website. Like all the stuff that is on the website is still there and in the servers and everything's fine. But holy jeez, it is sickening that something like this can happen. But everything seems fine now. But just like that is crazy. And also, like just like the optics of it, just a big kind of admittedly crumbling company like Funko inadvertently targeting an independent darling like Itch.io is nuts. But thankfully, it seems like it's had a happy ending so far. So, but again, it just happened today, so we'll see if anything comes out of that. Any more details? On to some more fun, lighter news. I realize I've kind of started off this whole chunk of news with like some weird bummers, but here's the fun part of the news. We're gonna get into some cool stuff here. Lego Fortnite is adding a new social roleplay experience called Brick Life. If for those of you remember Lego Fortnite being a extra mode in Fortnite, which is a Lego branded kind of survival game, basically like a Minecraft like, but instead of Minecraft bricks, it's Lego bricks, which was very successful. I actually never got around to playing it because it seemed like something that, especially when I was deep in the Fortnite hole, I would have probably just like that would have been the video game I played. like Fortnite in general, because I was already also, doing all the Fortnite dailies. I was playing all the dailies in the, rocket car mode, that like the racing version of Rocket League that they did. And the music game, the like rock band like that they have in Fortnite as well. And I never launched the Lego one because I was just like, well, this is like a whole big survival game, and this would probably just take over my life, so I don't want to do it. But they are now, apparently, in addition to that, they're adding this social roleplay experience. When I look at it, it looks a lot like GTA. It's kind of like got like a city and cars and stuff like that. The way they explain it is that you can explore this bustling city with up to 31 other players. You'll find it's full of interesting locales to explore and landmarks to admire. Visit the Cozy Paws Cafe at the beach or meet friends for a coffee at the town square. Purchase and decorate your own home with a wide range of Lego furniture and take on an assortment of jobs from a mythical fortune teller to the hardworking sushi chef and even the mischievous scoundrel. So in this, like when I say it looks a lot like GTA, it also reminds me of there are like fan run servers in GTA Online that are just role playing servers where people will kind of like, oh, like I'm the baker and I run this bake shop and I, drive to my job and obey all the traffic signals. But also like there are players who are cops that will, take, care of all the people who are like breaking rules on the server. And there's like I'm a jogger. I just go jogging around this place. And, there's like fun. And like from what I understand, the ways to get into those servers are like very strict. Like you have to like sign contracts and stuff, like saying that like you will obey all the rules of the server and follow the role that you have been assigned and like be in character the whole time that you're in there. And this seems like kind of a more like company structured way of doing this, which will be interesting. I'm interested to see how people react to this, especially since this is more, targeted towards kids. And I'm sure a lot of kids will have a lot of fun, with this kind of like encouraged like space for playing pretend, which I think a lot of kids like end up doing anyways when they play games like these, regardless of whether it's a, developed for the purpose of doing that. So it'll be, this seems like a neat, fun thing. I'm really excited to see kind of what comes out of it. And, oh boy. Okay, here we go. Speaking of Fortnite, I'm so mad, but also so excited. A well-known actually a couple well-known leakers, who are very reliable for Fortnite on various social medias. Sheena and FNB Rintel, they have found and reported that apparently Hatsune Miku will arrive in Fortnite. They are apparently planning some sort of Hatsune Miku crossover for Fortnite in 2025, which is very exciting news to me. For those of you who don't know, Hatsune Miku being the virtual idol pop star from Japan, synthesized voice, music, and whatnot. I'm a big fan. People who are fans of the Didn't Get All of It podcast might know. I won't, whenever it comes up, and I won't shut up about it. This might be the thing, man. I haven't played Fortnite since I want to say the summer, maybe spring. I dropped it in order to, play other video games because it felt like it was kind of taking over my life. But Hatsune Miku, my beloved, might be the thing that gets me to re-download it and get back into it, unfortunately. And there's been other stuff that I have been excited about with Fortnite. Like they're just recently, I think the most recent thing that they did was they added Godzilla to the game, which people are also pointing out that Hatsune Miku and Godzilla tend to like cross over in the same stuff, like occasionally and quite often. Like I've seen like multiple memes saying like, no matter what universe, we will find each other. So maybe I should go get that Godzilla to hold me over until Hatsune Miku arrives. But oh boy. And also Hatsune Miku being a music thing, the idea that they could possibly do a Hatsune Miku concert in Fortnite? Come on. Be so good. Hatsune Miku, Chug with you. Anyways. Moving on. Marvel Rivals. Maybe you've heard of it. Marvel's new, also NetEase, the developer. Their new hero shooter. speaking of rip-offs of other games, Marvel Rivals, if you look at it, is like, especially the UI of this thing, man, is like pretty obviously a attempt at a Overwatch like situation. It's got, it's a free to play 6v6 team based shooter, but this is in a third person perspective and not a first person's perspective. And people seem to be really enjoying it. The story I'm bringing up now is that it got 10 million players in its first 3 days, which is nuts, especially considering how crowded the, free to play games of service situation is. But in this case, I feel like it makes a lot of sense because there's a combination of things. One, it's Marvel. Of course, people were going to check it out. It's a very popular IP. Lots of characters people recognize, and also the art style for this thing is very cool. It's very, very slick, very, very anime, very cool looking character designs for all of these established characters. And the other thing is that it is, kind of basing itself off of Overwatch, which for the general audience of video games and people who are interested in this kind of game right now is not doing great. Overwatch still has people playing it, but it's mostly very dedicated players, the kind of like hardcore crowd. And Overwatch started off as like a very 6v6 kind of very loose like framing for how like matches were put together, but has since become like very try hard. I think it's 5v5 now, and you can't like stack rolls. Like you used to be, you could like roll in with like 5 Reinhardts, like 5 tanks basically, and like roll over people. But now you like are only allowed to have so many tanks and healers and DPS. And with this in Marvel Rivals, that is, it feels a lot like the early days of Overwatch, where you can kind of just like go in with whatever. There's no like limits on, what, like how many roles can be on the same team. 6v6. Some people have been complaining that some characters, feel a little broken. Like maybe some characters are overpowered compared to other characters. And this sentiment has been said online and other places, but I kind of don't think that they should fix it in the same way that Blizzard, like, quote unquote, fixed Overwatch. Like, I feel like having it be this chaotic is kind of a boon in this sense. Like, it's obviously got people interested. 10 million people were interested to at least download it and play it. So I think if they were to make it more, like people who are complaining like, oh, this is broken, oh, this character's too powerful, I feel like that might scare some people off. I think people are just kind of having fun going in there and messing around right now. And again, like, who knows how long that interest will last, but it's going well so far. And I think a lot of people would say that that's kind of what scared them off of Overwatch in the first place, was like the balancing getting like a little too serious, and also the player base for that thing just got so toxic. Like people would just yell at you for like not playing your role or whatever. And not when people playing a video game, they don't want to be yelled at all the time. They just want to like have a good time, hang out with your friends. I don't know. But yeah, Marvel Rivals seems like things are going well. Speaking of things, the Thing Remastered is now available per Night Dive Studios. This is a game that was announced but didn't really have a release date, and then kind of like shadow dropped over this past weekend, which is very cool. It is a remaster of a game based on John Carpenter's The Thing, which was released on Xbox PS2, Xbox, and PC back in 2002. pretty sure. Yeah, released 22 years ago. Yes. And it is a game that shows what happened to the research team like before the film takes place, basically. And from what, like, I've never played it, but from what I've seen of the game, it's very cool. Kind of like the alien kind of infects and moves its way through different like people in your crew, and you have to kind of constantly keep an eye out for who might potentially be infected. It seems like people who have played it are very big fans of it, and hopefully it finds a new audience. I love The Thing as an IP. The Thing is like the movie. The Thing is one of my very, very favorite movies of all time. And it's nice that it's got this game gets another chance of life here. Very cool. But that is all the news we have for this episode. Why don't I take a quick break, and when we come back, I will tell you about video games. And we're back. And usually I would tell you about what video games I've been playing, but honestly, I can really only tell you about what video game I've been playing. And that video game is Nine Souls, which I feel like might be a little surprising, because I feel like the last time I talked about this game was I was like kind of lukewarm on it. Like I was having fun with it, but it hadn't really gotten its teeth in me yet. Or I haven't gotten my teeth in it, however you say that. But I have really taken to this thing, like, a lot. For those of you who don't remember, Nine Souls is the kind of Metroidvania. The developers call it Tao Punk, with like very like kind of traditional Chinese martial arts aesthetics. In this case, being Taiwanese, the developer is Taiwanese. Formerly, they did, previously, I should say, they did a horror game called Tencent, which they actually shout out in this game in a funny way. Like, there's a character looking at like a computer database, and they're like, "Oh, there's like this game in here called Tencent." That doesn't sound that interesting. Kind of a funny, self-deprecation. But yeah, I think the last time I talked about this game on this podcast, I was maybe like a boss or two in, and like I was, like a little confused on where to go in some places, which I kind of like just kind of bit the bullet and decided to look up a walkthrough to kind of like point me in the direction of like, where to go. And I'm not like reading it, like paragraph to paragraph. Like I just kind of like want to know where to go. And I go like, okay, this is obviously the next place I'm supposed to go according to this. So I'm just going to run over there, do all the stuff there. And then if I need another kind of, like nudge in the right direction, I'll go to the walkthrough. And that's been helping me kind of like stay on task, like really, kind of like keep my interest up in it, which is nice. Again, like if you are not like fully enjoying, this is kind of where I stand on it. Like if I am playing a game and it gets to the point where I am not having fun anymore playing the game, I am A-okay looking up a walkthrough to kind of, just like get me back into having fun with the game again. I feel like that's really helped me with this game. I am really having fun with this game now. I really feel like I've locked into the combat of the game. I was kind of struggling at first, but I have really, really honed in on the parry mechanics of the game, kind of, Sekiro-like combat. And I feel like the game even intentionally makes you feel that way too. Like it feels like as you are unlocking stuff in the skill tree, by the time you like get to certain parts of it, you are actively better at the combat in the game, just having done it a lot. And they keep like a good Metroidvania. They have done a good job here, kind of drip feeding new mechanics as you go through. There's a new charged parry that you can do, where there are like the regular attacks you can do with the regular parry, but then there's these like red attacks that the enemies can do, which I feel like in most other games would be like, oh, that's like an unblockable attack. You have to kind of dodge out of the way in order to not get hit by it. But in this game, there is a thing called an unbound counter, which is a parry that you can do where you see the red attack coming and you hold down the block button and then release it right as the attack is hitting you. And usually that ends up in a situation where the enemy has now become opened up, like they have been stunned, and you can go in and get, like maybe like 2 or 3 combos worth of damage in before the fight resumes. And they do a really good, like the sound design in this is so good. Just the like ting tang tong of the parries is very good. And then when you get the unbound counter off, it sounds like glass shattering. It's very impactful and satisfying. And yeah, I feel like I've really gotten into the loop of the game of going out, fighting a boss, getting, artifacts, and then coming back to the kind of central hub of the game that has its own little cast of characters. You go around, talk to people, give gifts to people. Certain characters will give you upgrades. Like there's this guy who, it's kind of like a Kappa situation ish. Where he is this big buff dude and he eats poison as treats. Like he has such a good constitution that his body is just able to break down poison. And then he takes what he, eats as poison and makes an alcohol brew out of it that you can drink to increase your health. So just fun little incentives for you to interact with the characters, and you get actual beneficial mechanic benefits out of it, which I think is cool game design. Kind of Persona-esque in that way of, just getting to know characters in a narrative sense, but it also helping you out in the game as well. Other mechanics I've unlocked is an air dash and a double jump, just really opening up different areas of the game that I can go to. And at this point, as of the recording of this episode, I have just yesterday have defeated the penultimate boss. So I am in the end game. I think in the walkthrough I'm looking at least, I've gotten to the maybe go clean up stuff on the map that you may have missed before going into the final section and fighting the final boss. Which I have heard that the final boss of this game is really hard. There is a considerable spike in difficulty with the final boss of this game, which I think not this last boss that I fought, the second to last boss, but the boss before that, I spent a good day and a half, I want to say, trying to defeat that boss. So I have a feeling that this last boss I might be spending some time with. I've heard the attack pattern is very unpredictable. It doesn't necessarily have a set rhythm like some of the other bosses do. So send me your energy, folks. This might be, but I also feel like it's just going to be so satisfying once I get past it. And because I really have had a tremendous time with Nine Souls. There's a good chance it might end up on my top 10 list this year. So yeah, if you haven't tried it out, because I feel like not a ton of people have played it, and especially if you're into that Dark Souls, Sekiro punishing combat situation, but also love Metroidvanias, this you need to check this game out. This is kind of a required playing for fans of either of those genres. So Nine Souls, that's 9 SOLS, Souls, Nine Souls. I've been playing it a lot on both my PC and Steam Deck, and it turns out it's very good on Steam Deck. But that's the video game I've been playing lately. I just kind of got sucked into that one. I'm still about halfway through 1000 Times Resist. I really need to finish that. That game's really been calling my name, calling down the Nine Souls hole, like I'm stuck in a well shaped like Nine Souls, and 1000 Times Resist has been calling me from the top of the well, hey, you haven't finished me, come back and play, come finish it. But yeah, so hopefully during the holidays, after I'm done with all my video production stuff, I'll be able to get some time in with that. But aside from video games that I've been playing, I've also been watching some video game related videos that I want to let you guys know about in this, hopefully regular segment of video shout outs. But on YouTube, from MinnMax, which I feel like will probably be a regular channel that I shout out here. MinnMax, the creator-owned video game publication or video game news publication, just put out a new video, 141 rapid-fire questions about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is kind of a return to form for them. MinnMax being a bunch of people formerly from Game Informer, and now the Game Informer has kind of officially shut down. They're able to kind of revive some of the video formats that they did in the past at Game Informer, but didn't really feel comfortable, kind of adopting those video formats since Game Informer was still a thing that existed. But now they kind of returned to the format of rapid fire questions, a very fun format of interview where they sit down a developer and then just like fire off a bunch of rapid fire questions that are various things. There's a lot of jokes in there, but also what tends to happen with these interviews is that they will kind of catch developers off guard, and they might, let loose little extra bits of news that other, they haven't really revealed in other places. And MinnMax is kind of small, and they have in the past done interviews where news gets out, and other sites will source their video, some won't, and then they don't really get a huge return on the views on that video. So definitely, if you're interested, go give it a watch. The MinnMax does great work. So 141 rapid fire questions about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which as of this record, I believe it has come out today, Monday, December 9th. So that game is out, and this is a fun little interview about that game, which I've heard is very good. I've heard excellent things about this new Indiana Jones game. I hopefully can find space on my computer hard drive to download it and give it a play. But looking forward to that. And then another video I wanted to shout out is Stellar Blade, the fake outrage from YouTuber Shaun, which this little thing is a good video. The thing surrounding it is kind of frustrating because it is, and if you don't know about it, I envy you, but there is a growing kind of Gamergate 2 manosphere sentiment on especially Twitter, I would say. It thankfully hasn't reached Blue Sky as much yet, which is another reason to go check out Blue Sky instead of Twitter lately. There was just a whole thing when Stellar Blade was coming out that a lot of the Gamergate guys were especially specifically, there's a guy on Twitter named Grums that is really stoking a lot of this sentiment that the woke developers are ruining games. They hate gamers when they want to infect all of the industry with their woke ideology and whatnot. And one of the things that really spearheaded this was around the time when Stellar Blade was coming out, and there was one article from a French outlet of IGN basically insinuated that the character design for the lead character in Stellar Blade was in such a way that they felt like the artists had never seen a woman. They were just weirdly too perfectly sexy, but not fun sexy, just kind of here's a doll basically. The Gamergate guys just reacted as you would expect they would, and it is just it's this whole thing. But if you're interested in kind of dissecting that area of I don't blame you if you want to completely ignore this, because it's not making my life better knowing about it. But it's an interesting window maybe into seeing how other parts of the internet are thinking about and consuming video games, because it's very much not like the way that I like to do it. But yeah, the Stellar Blade, the fake outrage by Shaun I'll have links for these videos in the description of this episode. But why don't we take one more quick break, and when we come back, I will have an extra segment for you. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. And it's time for the third segment. That's right, it's time for the Strafe Shuffle. And I thought I'd just do a quick one here as I'm currently recording this in the middle of like what's essentially a extended lunch break, and I have to go get back to work here soon. But it's Christmas time, and I thought that little stroll down memory lane. I thought I'd talk about some of my favorite video game related memories of Christmas. Specifically, the thing that I think of most of the time when I think of like video game related gifts that I've gotten for Christmas was in 2001, I believe it was one, maybe 2002. When I got my PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and this was, I believe it was 2002. I got my PlayStation 2 and a copy of Kingdom Hearts, that is one of my, not just like favorite video games on Christmas memories, but just like that's probably my favorite Christmas memory in general of gifts that I've received. Just like opening that box and seeing that like PlayStation Blue, like PlayStation 2 box, being really excited about that, opening it up, getting it all set up. And I remember setting it up in my room and popping my copy of Kingdom Hearts into my PlayStation 2. And my dad coming in and as I was watching the opening cutscene, and him going like, dang, that looks like a movie. Just like really impressed by the graphics, which, the Kingdom Hearts opening cutscene, it goes. It's a banger, baby. I still think it looks really pretty. But yeah, just Kingdom Hearts on Christmas morning, man. What a thing. And then one of my other favorite like Christmas video game memories of all time is so Guitar Hero was like a big deal for me. I remember like when Guitar Hero was first announced, thinking like, oh my God, like, cause I was like a huge DDR head. Like I would love DDR. I had the dance pad and everything. Actually, I got that for Christmas too. Now I'm thinking about it. That was a big important Christmas gift, was my PlayStation 2 DDR pad, like the big nice foam one, not the like, fold up plastic one that was kind of the most like accessible one. I got like a nice like thick foam padding with like the plastic layer you put over it to like kind of keep it protected. I wish I still had that dance pad. Was so good. Played a ton of DDR on that thing, and that actually like Dance Dance Revolution, when I played that in middle school, I remember like playing it for a few months, and then like getting off the dance pad, I was all sweaty, and my dad looking at me, and he goes like, "It seems like you're like really getting a workout from that, because honestly, you were getting a little chonky there for for a little bit." I was putting on some like middle schooler LBs, like a little bit of a gut, but DDR kept me in shape, baby. Get that cardio in. I wish I had room in this apartment to play DDR now. I could get that exercise in. But yeah, I was like, DDR really made it so that I was really instilled a love of rhythm games in me. And so Guitar Hero coming was like a big deal. I remember going to Game Crazy, the game retailer attached to Hollywood Video, going there when they would let you just like try. They had like TVs that you could just try games out on, and I asked if I could try Guitar Hero, and just like playing some of that at the store, and just getting really excited for it. By the time Christmas came around, my parents got me my own copy of Guitar Hero, just hooking that controller up to the TV and playing like maybe the first like 3 or 4 songs, and then like being told like, okay, we gotta go to like the aunt and uncle's house, like to hang out with the family for Christmas, and just like oh, I just want to stay here and play Guitar Hero. Oh my god! And I think they ended up letting me like take my PS2 and the Guitar Hero controller to my aunt and uncle's house so that I could keep playing Guitar Hero. That I could not be ripped away from it. So those are definitely like my fondest memories of video games on Christmas. And hey, if you have any fond memories of video games for Christmas, let me know in the Discord. Shout out in the Squared Circle Strafe channel in our Discord server. But that's gonna be it for this week, folks. I got a jet here. But thank you for listening to Squared Circle Strafe. Leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts if you like the show. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Oozing Neon. If you want to catch more of me talking about some real nerdy stuff, you can follow the Didn't Get All of It podcast to hear me and the rest of the Fatal 4 hosts talk about the latest and greatest in professional wrestling. You can also sign up for our Patreon to get exclusive access to our Discord, as well as bonus podcast content and the satisfaction of supporting independent podcasting media. Head to patreon.com/Fatal4Pod. That's Fatal, F-O-U-R pod. Thank you again for listening, and as always, enjoy your gaming.